Hi students, hope you're doing well. I'm at home and I want to show you how you're going to get going with your first recording project, which is going to require you to use a USB mic and sync it with recording audio software. For this week, you're going to use Audacity and Adobe Audition. Let me explain why I'm having you do this in two different software. One, so that you can see the difference between an open source free software and one that's paid and a little bit more professional. You can start to assess the pros and the cons, the similarities and the differences between both of those platforms. But first, we have to get our mics connected. So I'm going to show you a few different mics that I happen to have here at home with me. This is my Zoom H2. I'm a big fan of this. The first part is making sure you have the right cables to connect. Okay, so on the sides of your USB mics or on the back somewhere, there's a place to plug in a cable, and you're going to be looking for something like that. It says USB. Everything's kind of backwards, but that says USB. And there are different types of connections. Hopefully you have purchased the matching one. We talked about this in class. Hopefully you listened to me and actually did that. If you didn't, you might need to run to Walmart and get whatever USB you need. Remember, there's over 50 unique USB connections. They all have their own names. I don't have them memorized. It's just a matter of looking and then matching, okay? So here's my connection right there. And so this is the one I need right here. Okay, it's very important that you connect and power up your mic before you open your software. This is essential. If it's not already connected, it won't find the mic and then you have to restart this process again. So make sure you do this before you open the software. Okay, so I'm just going to plug this in. So once it's plugged in, depending on the microphone, and this is different, there are modules in this week to help you with many different USB microphones, okay? But you're gonna have a sub menu that pops up. If you don't see something power up, you might need to actually turn this on. Typically though, like this, my power is on off. As soon as I plug in, it automatically powers it. So I don't even have to flip this switch, but it's different depending on your mic. So if nothing happens, go ahead and turn it on. All right, then a sub menu pops up depending on the microphone. But typically something pops up and it asks you, do you want to essentially record into the storage if there is a small SD card in here, or if you want to run it through your computer. So this says storage or audio. You do not want to use the internal storage because we're going to record straight into our computers. So you just need to navigate through that sub menu. And part of the challenge is just trying to figure out which button do I choose to navigate through the sub menu. On this particular microphone, for me to connect to go down, I need to hit over. I need to use these side to side arrows. It's really different on the microphone that you have. Please be your own teacher, pull out your user manual and figure out how to navigate those submenus. This is not difficult. I'm not going to give you everything you need. You have to do a little bit of self-teaching here. So I'm going to go over to go down. Now it says audio. I'm going to hit my record button, which on many microphones is kind of like your enter or okay, but look through your user manual. Okay, then it has me go to another one. One of the things it asks, and we talked about this in class last week, was the frequency at which I want to record. And it's already set on 44.1, and that's what I'm going to use, and I recommend that you use. You guys can mess around with higher frequency later on as you learn to understand this, but for right now, just kind of take the frequency that it's giving you, which is typically 44.1. Once that's selected, it's going to say, do you want to connect? I'm going to go over to go down, hit OK. All right. And then typically you'll hear a little sound from your computer letting you know that it's connected. And there, right there, you can see the meter. You can see that my voice is registering on the meter. So we know that we are good. La! Great. So it's connected. Okay. So now we have to move on to the next portion. I'm now going to run that process for you again, but this is using a Zoom H4. I don't think you can purchase Zoom H4s anymore. This is an H. You can also get H4 Pros. Those are more common, but they're very, very similar in how we get this set up. So here we go. This has a power cord, and for this one, I do need to actually plug in the power for this to work, just because it's a little bit older. You may not need to do that. Again, plug in that USB, and if it powers up or turns on, you're good to go. If it doesn't, then you probably need your power. All right. So that's plugged in. Great. And now I also need to connect the USB. And so Again, here's the connection right there on the side. And here is my matching cable. Okay, so plug that in here. And then plug it into your computer. Okay. Notice, here we go. Okay. This one's a little bit different. It says audio or connect to PC, and it's strange on the H4. Rather than connecting to PC, which seems like the obvious thing to do, we are actually going to select audio, which is the first option. On this one, there's this little toggle right here. You can press it in and you can go up and down with it. We're going to press it in where it says audio IO. And there's the sound. The computer has found it. And you can see it is connected, and it even tells you the frequencies. It's 44.1. I know this is going to look backwards on your screen, but that's okay. All right. So now this is connected. Okay. So there's two different microphones and how you use them. Again, in the module for week 2, you'll see that I've made video tutorials for several different microphones that are most commonly used. Blue Yeti, Snowball, Zoom H4, H4n, H2, a bunch of different things. So go ahead and watch those modules. But also remember that you guys can teach yourselves. You have a user manual to go with your microphone. You need to dig in and be resourceful as well. I'm not going to give you all of the information on how everyone's going to run their individual mics. This stuff is pretty simple. If you really can't figure out, start to look for a YouTube video. And if you're really stuck, then of course, go ahead into the week 2 conversation and leave a question. But see how far you can get on your own. I want to show you kind of how I set up to record. So I'm here at my desk at home, and here's my microphone. I have it on what's called a boom stand. So it has an articulating arm, and it has this little holder that you can attach to the microphone. It's a screw in. You can also get various little tripods. I mean, there's tons of small, tiny attachments that are very, very cheap that screw into the bottom of standard USB microphones, okay? Keep in mind, wherever, if you don't have a tripod or a boom stand or a mic attachment, just keep in mind that wherever you put your microphone, it's going to interact with the surface that it's sitting on. So let's say you put it on another, a music stand. I would put some very thin cloth on it. Don't make it too thick and heavy. If it's too thick and heavy, that will actually absorb and kind of just, it'll absorb some of the sound that you're creating. If you're going to put it on a table, again, I would put down a thin piece of cloth just so that we're not getting reflection of sound depending on what that table's made out of, okay? But definitely, ideally, you're going to have it elevated and on something. And you might need to, over time, spend a little bit more money to get a little bit more equipment. But again, even things like this, these are very cheap. These are fun too because you can like attach them and wrap them around. I mean, these are just a few dollars on Amazon. And it's worth it, you guys, because being able to mic yourself, again, is a professional skill. If you're an educator, you're going to have to know how to mic all of your students anyways. So, I mean, time to jump in and just go for it, okay? So lots of different things that you can attach it to. You kind of have to figure out a system that works for you. I've obviously accumulated a lot of these things over the years, and I'm really, really fond of having a boom stand because it's just really easy for me to adjust and move things. Okay, so now that you know how to connect your microphone, let me just point out once again, if you're not sure, here we are in week 3. There are some tutorials for a lot of the standard USB microphones. Most of you have probably purchased one of these. Again, if you haven't, you're going to have to teach yourself. This stuff is pretty easy. Use your instruction manual. Okay, so now we need to actually record into software. So I'm going to show you first Audacity. So go ahead and open up Audacity. Click OK. All right, so a few things to be aware of is that you need to make sure that Audacity has found your microphone. And it's right here. Here's this little microphone icon right here. And over here, you can drop down. Now, typically, depending on your setup, you might see a few microphones. You might see the microphone, the internal microphone for your computer, and then you should see your USB. So mine right here says H2. That's my Zoom H2. You should see the name of your USB microphone there. Okay. And you can also See right here, it says click to start monitoring. This also shows you how it's monitoring. So you can see my voice talking into my microphone, okay? So this is also a good point to kind of check your gain, right? So I have my bassoon right here. Now make sure you read the instructions for the assignment very carefully. It's important that you record the right thing. We are learning how to capture the full range of your instrument, and we need to figure out how it's going to interact with that microphone. So our first thing is to determine if the gain on our microphone is going to be okay for this. We're going to really master this in a follow-on assignment, but we want to just make sure that the meter's not spiking into the red, which will create clipping or flattening of the sound, where essentially it's cutting off some frequencies of your tone. Okay, so I've played as loud as I'm going to play. That's really where you're going to determine if the microphone needs to be turned up or down. And if you watch the monitor, it went into the red just a little bit. So right here inside of Audacity, I can turn my gain down. The gain, there's an article in this assignment that talks, explains the difference between gain and volume. Go ahead and read that article. I'm going to turn this down a little bit. This just basically turns down the sensitivity of the microphone. It stops certain frequencies from coming in. So I'm playing really, really loud. I don't see it going into the red, so I think that I'm okay, all right? This will kind of be confirmed when we actually start recording. So here we go. Now we're ready to start recording. Now, depending on which edition of Audacity you've downloaded, you might need to add a new track right here. Make sure you add a stereo track. That means left and right, left and right. If you add a mono track, it's going to sound really strange. It only plays through one ear. So you can add a stereo track. That works. Here you can get rid of that. Or you can just hit record and it should pop up as well. If it doesn't, don't panic. Just come up here to tracks and we're going to add new stereo track. Okay, and this is our international sign for recording right here, okay? Let's take a look at a few other things. We have some editing tools here, some Zoom. I'll show you how that works after we've actually recorded. But the big thing here we have, this adjusts the gain of the microphone, and this is our output. So that's your actual volume when you play back what you've recorded. Now, there are a few microphones like the Q4N where you will not be able to adjust the gain inside of Audacity. Don't panic. You can adjust gain on your microphone. Look around your microphone, you'll see something that says gain, or you might see a little dial meter, okay? You might also see the word auto. Never use auto gain. Again, that's going to flatten your sound, get rid of all your dynamics, okay? So if you can adjust gain right here, you can absolutely adjust it on your microphone. Again, look for something that says like low, medium, high, LMH, LH, or some kind of radial dial that just has numbers on it. That will be your gain as well. So as you look at the assignment, I've asked you to play a full range scale on your instrument, singers included, piano. We want to hear how this microphone is going to interact with both your low notes, your high notes, your mid-range. You're going to do it one time soft and one time loud. So let's go ahead and hit record here. There's my one time soft, and now one time loud. And there's loud, okay? Then we hit stop. All right, now, obviously I've done this a lot, so I already know that I'm pretty well set up here. My sound wave profile is sitting nicely as we look at this meter right here. That's our +5 and -5, and that's basically where you want your sound to fit in. Brass players, you might spike out of that a bit more. It also really just depends on how close the mic is. But essentially, you don't want typically your loudest sounds to go be much further than that +5 on the meter there, okay? All right, so now let me show you some really, really quick edits. I don't want to hear a bunch of weird stuff while you're moving around, okay? I just want to hear the loud and the soft. So quick edits. Using your mouse, you can just select any part of this, just like you would in a Word document. If you're going to go into a Word document and select several words, use that same function with your mouse. And then you can hit delete. Oh my gosh, I didn't want to delete that. Don't panic. Those same shortcuts that you're used to using on Word documents also work here. Control Z will undo what you just did, okay? Maybe you don't want to delete it. Maybe you just want to silence it, and you can do that as well. So you can silence it. Again, select, just like you would in a Word document, generate, silence. Either one's fine. Okay, let's take a quick listen to see what this sounds like. Oops. Make sure you toggle all the way back to the beginning. And if you want to go to a different part, you can drop the cursor there. There's my soft. Now, I don't want to hear any talking between here, so I'm just going to go ahead. Again, you can delete this or silence it. I'm going to delete it. We're going to continue playing. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of this. I don't want any of that. Okay. Gotta get to the end of the track there. Okay, good. So that's it. A full range scale, 1 time soft and 1 time loud. We want to hear how the mic interacts with your tone through the full spectrum of sound and dynamics. Okay, so great. Right now, this is a proprietary file format. It's editable, it's lossless, it's called a container file, which is wonderful. However, we can't send this to anyone. You can't submit this as an assignment. So let's just kind of take a look at where this is saving right now. So if we were to save this project currently, save the project as, this is going to show us where it's saving. Right now, for me, it's saving in my music folder, and there you can see save as type. It's an AUP. Well, you definitely want to save this so you never lose your work. And in case you wanted to come back in and edit this project, you'd want the original large container file. So give it a name. All right. Again, make sure you know where this is saving. You might want to go ahead and make sure this is saving on the external hard drive or the flash drive that you purchased for this course. Whatever you do, keep things organized. If you need to make a new folder, Muse Tech projects, whatever you need to do to keep yourself organized and remember where this is saved, go ahead and do that now. All right, so that's great. Now I have the editable AUP, the container lossless proprietary file, but I need to submit this as an assignment, and you're going to submit this as an MP3. So we need to change or encode this file to a different file format. So we're going to export as an MP3. Now, at this point, you might get something that pops up that says that you need to download a lame encoder. That's fine, don't panic. Follow that link and download the lame encoder. Make sure you download the right lame encoder for your operating system. Once you've done that, you'll come back and everything will be set, everything's here, you haven't lost anything. You'll just go to export
the file again. Okay, so with the lame encoder installed, again, make sure you're paying attention to where this is saving. Mine is going into my music folder. Elizabeth Plays Bassoon. It's going to be an MP3. There are other options there, okay, including the WAV file, but I have asked you guys to save and submit as MP3s this semester, okay? There are some other options here, and again, this is basic recording, so don't even worry. We're not going to get into this. It's just more things, okay? Go ahead and save. All right. This right here is called metadata, and it's super powerful. This is what makes your files searchable and findable on someone else's computer. So if you were to go into your library and let's say you knew you had an album on there by the Bee Gees, you could search your computer by Bee Gees or the album title, right? Or the track name. This is where that information is created in the metadata of the file. You can fill this out or you can leave it blank. I just want you to understand what metadata is and that this is the point in which you would do this in this process. I'm going to leave it blank. I'm going to click OK. There we go. Now, before you do anything else, always confirm that that file is where you think it is and play it, because sometimes technology fails you. And even though you think you did it right, it may not be. Don't use your recent files. That can be misleading. Go into your file manager and actually look for it. Okay, so here we go. I see it, except that this file format is the AUP. So that's not what I want. I want the MP3. And here it is, Elizabeth Plays Bassoon. Go ahead and open that file and listen to it. Make sure you listen to the entire thing to make sure it's there, okay? Great, so there's my MP3 from Audacity, okay? A few other things. If you go into Edit and Preferences, there's various preferences that you can go ahead and set up. This is going to show your devices. So this shows you your playback, essentially when the sound plays, where is it coming from? This shows you what is picking up, or your input or your microphone right here, okay? Also, if you're a pianist and you've hooked up your digital piano, you'll see your MIDI devices here. Libraries, this shows you where you're exporting your library to, okay? And in other software, this would also be where you'd set up your autosave, but we don't have it in Audacity. So do make sure that you are occasionally coming in and saving your project as you work so that you don't lose all of your project. Remember to save and continue working. You can just come here, save project as, okay? And it'll just show you right there, okay? So make sure you're occasionally saving your project. This project is very tiny, but if you were working in here a lot, you'd want to make sure that you were constantly saving your project. I would also, because this is an open source software and things change and it's actually always a little bit different semester to semester, if you love Audacity and want to keep using it, maybe search a little harder to see where you can set up the autosave, because it seems to change from semester to semester. Some versions of Audacity have the autosave and some don't. And so worth digging into if you are going to use this as your software of choice. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing in Adobe Premiere Pro. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. My microphone's already set up. That's great. I'm going to come down here and open, I'm sorry, I said Adobe Premiere Pro, Adobe Audition. Okay, so Adobe Audition is going to be a much more professional looking interface. Remember that this is an industry standard audio editing and recording software. So as it opens up, let me pull your attention to a few different things. Right here is what we call your media library. So if you wanted to bring music in, you could double click in here and it goes into your file manager and you could import audio from there. This is a history. This will show all of your edits as you make edits, okay? Multi-tracking, it's exactly what it sounds like. This is where you would do a multi-tracking project. Okay. Let's go into edit, come down to preferences, and here we do have an autosave. Make sure that is set up. I have mine set for every 10 minutes. You can do whatever you want. You can also determine how many backup files you want. So essentially, how many different versions of the project do you want it to save? Keep in mind that the more it saves, the more it's going to create files for you. Mine's set at 10. I'm actually going to change that because I definitely don't want 10 versions of the same project so that just means that every 10 minutes, it'll save a version of the project and you'll have 10 versions. And then as it goes to the 11th one, it'll delete the first one, right? And then it kind of keeps going from there. You don't need that much. It's just going to bog down your computer. Okay. So we can also go into preferences and we can look at our audio hardware. And this is going to confirm that we see the microphone, that's our input. Our output, right now mine shows headphones. I don't have my headphones connected, so it says not working. I'm gonna move to speakers because that is what I'm using right now. You'll wanna use headphones though. Get into a habit of recording with headphones on, as challenging as that can be sometimes. That's great. So there's a lot of other things over here as well. Just you can look through all of these. I'm not going to talk you through all of them. You can change the color of your waveform, things like that, your audio hardware, your autosave. Just there's lots of different things. We don't need to look at a lot of these right now. Again, this is basic. If you were going to become expert, you'd want to understand all those items, but we just don't need it for right now. Okay, so just recording one instrument on one microphone, that's basically all you need to do. And then here's our record button. And it's going to ask you to give it a name. Now, if you were multi-tracking, you'd probably want to you would just put the name of each instrument that you were recording. I'm going to actually include that this is Audition because I know I have the other file already. Okay. And now it's recording. You can see the waveform popping up. Okay. So grab your instrument and you're going to do the exact same thing. When you're done recording, just hit the stop button. Okay. All right. So let me show you the zoom. I didn't show you this in Audacity, but it's very, very similar. You can zoom into the sequence, and this zooms into the timeline. You can see the toggle up here to move through the sequence. Okay. You can also zoom in if you're doing really fine edits to give you more detail with regard to essentially what you're looking at are decibels at this point. So you can zoom there as well. So you can zoom in both places. I'm actually going to zoom out. And again, very similar to what I did in Audacity and what you do in Word documents, select the stuff you don't want and you can delete it. Control Z will undo what you just did. If you would prefer not to delete it, you can click on Effects and instead just create silence, whatever your heart desires. I am going to delete it though. And then same thing on the back end. You can delete it or you can create silence. Great. Go ahead and listen to it. You can listen to it at any time you want. But yeah, there it is. There's some other fine edits in here that we won't get into. I just want you guys to like get into the software, record something, and editing. We'll learn more about that. Okay, but that is really, really basic and pretty easy to use. Okay, if you wanted to turn down your overall output, so for example, let's keep listening. We could also turn that down right here. This is a little toggle. You just hover above it, and then now I'm turning down my decibels. You can see the dB measurement right there, and so that turns down the output. if we go in to see where this is saving, so let's say we save as, right now, aha, this is the location of where this is saving, and definitely not where I want it to save. So click on browse. I want this to save in music right here. And again, if you need to make a new subfolder for Muse Tech projects, please do that. Okay, and right now it's saving as a wave. For this course, this semester, let's just do MP3s. Okay, and there's your file name. That's where it's going to save. Here's the file format, an MP3, the sample type. Great, and click OK. All right, and right there you have exported. You actually just did it. So that was really quick. That was a check on where is this saving, but we actually just exported it. But I'll show you again. So right now it's saving in a session file for Adobe Audition. We want to export this file and make it an MP3, which I already did, but I'll do it again. I don't want it to be a wave. I want it to be an MP3. And I don't want it to save there. I want it to save back over my music file. Save. When I do this, it's probably going to give me a warning. It says, oh, there we go. Okay, so now we have an MP3. Again, always double check that it did actually create and locate itself where you think it is. So I'm opening up my file manager. Don't use your recent files. That can be misleading and it may not actually be where it is. Confirm that it's where you placed it. So I'm clicking on music. I'm coming down here and there it is. Elizabeth plays bassoon on Audition. Right there. And there's the one that I did on Audacity right below it. Okay. Make sure you open it and listen. Again, make sure you listen to the whole file that I'm going to right now. And then I would encourage you, listen closely to both those files and see if you notice a recording difference between Audacity and Adobe Audition. See if it is a discernible difference or if it really is just the interface. The interface being the thing that you actually look at on the software that you're interacting with. That's our interface. Okay. Yeah, so that is your mission for this week. Let's go back and take a look at this assignment to make sure we didn't miss anything. You're going to be making 2 submissions to this submission folder. And so you're making a recording with Audacity and a recording with Adobe Audition. What are you recording? A full range scale, ascending and descending, 1 time loud and 1 time soft. You're going to export both of those files into an MP3 format, and it's those MP3s that you're going to upload. I have given you specific instructions for how to label your file name. So your last name, your microphone, and then Audacity, and last name, microphone, Adobe Audition. This is just going to help you remain organized and help me remain organized as Amy and I grade these assignments. Okay, so ideally this shouldn't take too long. You just need to watch this tutorial and basically you can just follow along and complete it as I do it. And if you have any questions, of course, go to the week 3 module and leave your questions there. But do try to challenge yourself to do some problem solving here, my friends. The best thing you can do is get comfortable with learning technology. And the reason this assignment is so short is that in case you really, really mess up, you haven't lost a 10-minute sonata. You've lost some scales, so you can just redo it, okay? So be bold, be brave, and be good problem solvers.